Hey everybody, welcome to the 80s Slashers YouTube channel. In this video, I will be going through and ranking all of the actors who have played Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th franchise. I'm going to go through the start with the ones I like the least, all the way up to my favorite Jason. Now, these are obviously based on my own personal opinion, my own personal like rankings, obviously. And these are based on, what I perceive as a good Jason, what the things that I like my Jason to have. Um, and that's based on, the look, the style, and also, as always, mostly nostalgia plays a part in it as well. Yeah, so before we get to the rankings, just want to clarify just a few points before we get into it. I have a total of 10 actors who will be included in these rankings. This includes both Steve Dash and Warrington Gillette from Part 2. But they'll be lumped together since they share a film, and it's just kind of difficult to differentiate between them on screen. I think I have a good idea of when Dash is on screen and when Gillette is on screen, but for the sake of argument, we're just gonna put it all together as as one for those two. Also included on this will be Tom Morga, who played Roy Burns from Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Part 5. Now listen, we'll get into it when we get to him on the ranking, but it's still a Friday the 13th film. It's still a character who at the time the people in the film believed was Jason, and the people at home or in the theater watching it for the very first time thought it was Jason. I love the film, so yeah, he looks like Jason, he moves like Jason. It's these are my rankings, and Tom Morga is going to be on the list. So yeah, that's how that's going to go. And for Kane Hodder, like I said, we all know Kane Hodder played the role of Jason four separate times in Part 7, Part 8, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X. And I'm not gonna put him on the list four times and rank each appearance. He's gonna be ranked once. He played the character of Jason, and he's gonna be ranked. All four of those films combined. It's just easier that way. That's just how I've decided to do it. So yeah, so taking all that into account, especially with part two, there will be basically 9 spots on this ranking. So 10 actors, when you split up Dash and Gillette, but 9 actual spots on this ranking. So just want to get that out of the way, clear it up. So yeah, so let's just get into it. So all right, coming in at number 9. All right, so coming in at number 9 is obviously Ari Lehman from the original Friday the 13th from 1980. Now, this is kind of a throw-in pick just for completionist sake. Obviously he did nothing in the role of Jason of any importance that in terms of the Jason Voorhees that we know and love. He has some importance to the franchise, as he's the basically the setup for the first film. He's the motive for the first film, and which continues throughout the entire series. But as an actor and as a screen presence as Jason, he didn't do too much. So I'm just gonna include him on here just to have him on the list. He is an actor. He played Jason, so he's on the list, but he's just not the Jason we all know and love. So yeah, so coming in at number 9, just is Ari Lehman. All right, number 8. All right, so coming in at number 8 is Ken Czinger, who played Jason in Freddy vs. Jason. Now, um, I don't feel he's technically, like, if you don't want to include Ari Lehman, Ken Czinger is technically last on this list. Now, I don't think he's a terrible Jason. He just didn't have the right feel for me, if that makes sense. And like I said, for me, I know a lot of people like this Jason. Um, I don't know what it is. It's just, I don't know if it's like a product of the time. This movie in like the early 2000s, it was kind of that, it had the really glossy shine of these new horror. They were always sticking in celebrities and rappers and all this stuff. And I don't know, Jason just kind of felt off to me. He had a kind of a modern look. I don't know. It's kind of hard to put into words. It's just something about the feel. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's almost as if they were trying too hard to reinvent him. But like for me, just nothing really stood out. He wasn't. He didn't move too fast. He didn't move too slow. He wasn't like overly aggressive. He was just kind of. I don't really want to say bland, but he was just kind of nothing, nothing special. For me, Um, yeah. So I don't know. A couple fun facts about Ken Czinger. He's Canadian, which I'm Canadian, so that's pretty cool. I like that. And I believe he is actually the tallest of all the actors to play Jason Voorhees. He is the tallest. I believe he's 6'5". And I'll give him that. He looked big. He looked menacing and really large. But just, yeah, I don't know, something about his look. He just didn't do it for me. So yeah. So coming in number 8, Ken Czinger. All right, number 7. All right, so coming in at number 7 is Derek Mears from the Friday the 13th 2009 remake. Now I wanted to rank Derek Mears higher on this list because I do like him as a Jason. I thought I enjoy this film. It's different from the Paramount films, but I do enjoy this film, and I liked this Jason. I like this version of Jason. The main reason is because without a doubt, he is the most violent and the most aggressive of all the Jasons. He's very like the type of violence and the aggression is very reminiscent of um, the the Rob Zombie versions of Michael Myers in his Halloween films. It just had like a really hard-edged, really aggressive nature to him. There was no playing around with this Jason. A very visceral type of violence. Nothing cartoony. There's movies. Even though I love them, there's some cartooniness that Jason can have in some of these films. Not in this one. This is he's pretty brutal in these. This is probably the version of Jason I would least want to be attacked by, just because it's gonna hurt more. It's gonna be terrifying. He's big and he's scary. Um, yeah, it's very. I like that style. I like the aggression. But unfortunately, the look of him, he still kind of had that modern look, like I was talking about with Ken Czinger from Freddy vs. Jason. Just again, it's probably nostalgia for me. I like my Jason to look a certain way, and this was just a little too polished, as if they're trying a little too hard. I don't know. It's just my preferences. I just prefer the old style. It just looks better for some reason. I don't know. But that being said, like I think I still prefer this over some of the other later versions that we get, like the Freddy vs. Jason, and some of the later versions that Kane Hodder, and obviously Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. I like the look of this Jason better. Um, but yeah, so like I said, I like this. I like Derek Mears. I thought he did a good job. Very very aggressive. So yeah, so that was number 7. All right, so let's get into number 6. So number 6, we have Steve Dash and Warrington Gillette from Friday the 13th Part 2. Now I have to say it's mostly, from what I understand, the Jason in this film is mostly Steve Dash. I hear, originally Warrington Gillette was hired. He didn't want to do some of the physical stunt work and whatnot, but there was a contract, so they brought in the stunt man, Steve Dash, and he did most of the physical stuff, all the stuff that we see with Jason with the sack running around doing all the stunts, and in the final, um, like the final jump scare when he jumps through the window maskless. I believe that was Warrington Gillette. So he had some moments, but most of the work, the stuff that we like to see, was Steve Dash. My understanding, it's kind of messy. There's different stories out there, but regardless. Um, so yeah, so besides part one, um, this obviously part one is a little boy Jason, but besides that, this is probably the Jason that's the most different version of Jason that we got. And it's not a bad thing because I love Sackhead Jason. I think Sackhead Jason is awesome. He's very scary. He's probably the most, no, he is. He's the most animalistic of all the Jasons because he has that. He's the most human at this point. He's still a confused human, and yeah, I just really like that. He comes off as not a monster, not a zombie. He comes off as like a confused backwoods living serial killer out for revenge for witnessing his mother's beheading. And I like I said, like he when he gets injured, you can see the human element, like the pain, and when he gets confused a lot, like when he's at the end, obviously when he's battling Ginny, the final girl. She's tricking him with some of the mental, like psychology tricks, and he's getting confused. He has like that the head tilt. He's trying to figure it out. He gets really confused. He can be tricked. It's those human elements. So I really like that. Um, yeah, so it's I like this. It's obviously it's not as iconic as we're so used to Jason with the mask. But this is I don't know. I really like this. I like Sackhead Jason. Um, and just for fun, he's like, I swear, he's the clumsiest of all the Jasons. If you watch the movie, how many times he falls over, he falls off a stool, he like trips. He's kind of clumsy in this film, which is kind of, again, it's like a human element to it. So that's kind of cool. And also, just a note, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe he's the shortest of all the Jasons. Steve Dash, I believe, was only like 6 foot flat. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. So, all right, number 6, we have Steve Dash and Warrington Gillette. All right, let's go to number 5. All right, so coming in at number 5 is Tom Morga, from Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Part 5. Now, listen, I said it at the beginning of this video. I don't care about the whole Roy Burns thing. This is a Friday the 13th film. He looked like Jason. He moved like Jason. The characters in the film thought he was Jason. The home audience thought he was Jason until we got the reveal the very first time you watched it. Um, so yeah, he counts to me. He counts. This is my ranking, and he feels like Jason. He looks like Jason. So I love this movie. So it's definitely here. And Tom Morga did a good job. Now he's a smaller Jason. Again, I believe he's also around 6 feet flat. So him and Steve Dash are probably two of the smallest Jasons. And he does appear smaller. That if I had one gripe about his character, there's times when he looks smaller in stature. Um, not a big deal. I do like my Jasons to be big and scary and menacing, but yeah, that's the one thing that not crazy about with this version of Jason. And also he's pretty slow and lumbering. Like he doesn't, there's no fast movements. He doesn't run. He's just always walking slow, and that's good. I like elements of that when he's just like methodically, just walking slow, and he's like because he knows he's gonna catch some. It's kind of I like that element to Jason, but I like him to have some to run a little bit and to be fast. And this version does not have that, so that's really the reasons why it's here. He has the look, he has the feel. He just he's a little slow and a little small. But besides that, everything else, I really like him. And he also, again, probably because it wasn't actually Jason, it was Roy Burns, but he has a more of a human feel. With his reaction every time he gets injured, he's like, oh, he's screaming in pain, and he's like grabbing his leg, like he's very human. And again, maybe that is the filmmaker's like, oh, this isn't Jason, just a regular ambulance driver. So so he gets stabbed in the leg, he's gonna feel it. So but I like that. I like the human element to it. So yeah, Tom Morga coming in at number 5 as Jason. All right, let's go on to number 4. All right, so coming in at number 4, we have Kane Hodder. Now, I know this is probably a surprise to some, maybe not the most popular choice, because I realize that Kane Hodder is the majority of Friday fans' favorite Jason. Um, you know, now and I don't know why maybe it's because he is in the most films. He's in 4 films, so obviously we have Part 7, Part 8, Jason Goes to Hell. I don't own a physical copy of it. Not a fan of that movie. And Jason X. Um, so for me, like I said, like maybe the biggest reason why he's not my number one is because these are in the whole franchise. These are my some of my least favorite films. It's not like I like this. This is fun. It's not really a Friday. It doesn't feel like a Friday film, but it's a fun film. I really do not like this. And I hate Jason Goes to Hell. And this is almost a hate. Um, those two are my least favorite. So I don't know. Maybe that's why he just happens to be playing Jason in these films that I'm not crazy about. So maybe that's not fair to Kane Hodder. I don't know. It's just that's just just the way I feel. Um, and yeah, and another thing that kind of bugs me is at this point when Kane Hodder is playing Jason, um, he's zombie Jason, he's Uber Jason, he's all these crazy things. He's fighting, Carrie. It's just I like I said, I like my Jason to be more human. I like the human elements. I don't like the zombie aspect of him. It's I don't hate it. I would prefer him to have always been alive and be just a regular guy, just being can't be killed. Because you can't get the upper hand on him, not because he's a zombie and he just physically can't be killed. Um, so yeah, I don't know that's just these films, and he just happens to be the Jason. So it's just that's probably where it plays in. Now again, in terms of the size of Jason, now how tall is Kane Hodder? I don't know. If you go online, if you Google Kane Hodder's height, you're gonna find articles like Wikipedia, IMDb, all these like legitimate sources where it will say 6 foot, 6 foot 2, 6 foot 3, 6 foot 4. I don't know. Some people said he's 6 foot and he wears lifts in his shoes to make him appear, try to get up to 6'2". Some people think he's 6'4". I don't know. I feel like he's probably closer to 6 foot. Because regardless of how tall he actually is, there's moments, not all the time, but moments on screen where he appears small to me. He doesn't have that big hulking, menacing stature that I like in my Jason. Sometimes he does, if the camera's low and looking up, he looks big, but it's just when he's head to head against someone, sometimes he just doesn't look like Kane Hodder's not a small dude. I'm not saying that. It just I don't know. He just didn't have that physical imposing stature that other versions of Jason had. Um, so I don't know. Like it's just yeah. Like I feel like I have to explain myself because so many people have him um this high or have him as number one on their list. But with all that being said, I will say this: he is probably the best stuntman to play Jason. His stunts were the best. He was man he was fantastic. At times he's getting lit on fire. Um, the one in this film here when he falls down a set of stairs and just falls completely through the stairs into the basement. Like, that was fantastic. Like, what a stunt, what a scene. So yeah, in terms of that, like, Kane Hodder, like, is probably the best stuntman for sure, and he did it in all these movies. So, I don't want to take anything away from him, and just he's ranked number 4 as just the look of him. Not his performance. I feel like the other 3 ahead of him probably do perform a little better for what I like in a Jason, but he does a good job. And the times when he doesn't appear a little small, he definitely has an ominous feel to him. Like like when he's standing still, his stance, when he's just standing still and staring, yeah, he definitely has the terrifying look. So yeah, Kane Hodder, definitely a great Jason. Number 4 on my list. Just not one of the best 3 for me, my opinion. All right, let's get into number 3. All right, so coming in at number 3, we have C.J. Graham from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Now, the biggest thing when I think about C.J. Graham, the biggest thing that stands out to me in this is his stature. He's something about just the way he stands, he looks, is very menacing. He is. I always thought he had a great look as Jason. He just really looks really large on screen. I love that. I love that about him. But the thing that made him come in number 3 for me is, without a doubt, for me, he's probably the fastest moving Jason and of all of them. And I love that. Like, there's many scenes when he's like flat out running, chasing victims, and we didn't see that much um, prior to this film. There was some fast movements, but man, he was like flat out running sometimes, and that's Jason running after you. Like, usually it's like the slow lumbering walk, which is good. You look back and you're like, oh crap, he's not stopping. But you look back and he's booting it after you, terrifying. Um, yeah, it's not just the running. Like, he just moves with a purpose. Like, there's no wasted movements. It's just, man, I just love the way he moves on screen. That's why he's number 3. Um, and he's there's just some of the shots. I guess it's not really C.J. Graham. It's more the filmmakers, but like some of the shots they used him in, it's just fantastic. Obviously the RV scene. The RV scene when he flips it over there and he's standing on top, the lighting and just the way he's standing, man, it's so iconic, and it's just one of the standout moments in the entire franchise, and it's just because the way he looks, and so yeah, and even though, like I said, like when I talked about Kane Hodder with the zombie Jason, this is the first time he appears as zombie Jason. But he's still not over the top yet. There's not like worms crawling down his face, and just I don't know, like it gets a little crazy at like the next 2 or 3 films after this. um but yeah, I'm okay with the zombie Jason in this version, if that makes sense. So yeah, coming in at number 3, CJ Graham. All right, let's get on to number 2. All right, so coming in at number 2, of course, is Ted White from Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Now, I'll have to say, when I was compiling and preparing to do this video, Ted White was my number 1. So if you're keeping track, you know who my number 1 is. We will get to him. But going into this, Ted White was my number 1. And I started doing the editing, started doing all this captured footage you're seeing. I was rewatching them again, and I just, over the course of doing this, I flip flopped 1 and 2. He was 1. Number 1 was number 2. I don't know why. Well, we'll get into it, I guess, when I get to number 1. But that it's nothing taken away from Ted White, because man, he is just fantastic. Um, he like he has it all. He's really big. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". He's a big guy. He moves fast. There's some slow moments, but when he needs to move fast, he moves fast. It's not really running like C.J. Graham did, but like busting through a window like really fast, quick movements. And it's not just quick movements, it's aggressive. When he busts through the window, he grabs him. He's the most physical of all the Jasons. Like when he gets his hands on the victims, he's just he's an animal. He's a monster. But like a human version. He's still human, but he's just so physical and so violent. He's just a total package. Oh man, I love Ted White. And it's funny because like I heard you hear the stories like when they were filming this film, he kept his distance from the cast. So when they were filming, all like the kids and the teenagers, they were all hanging out between filming, getting to know each other, like just like you would usually do on a set. But Ted White stayed away. He didn't want anything to do with them, so he wanted to keep himself distant, like a mystery to them. And so the only time they interacted with him was when they were filming the scenes, him wearing the mask. And they said they were terrified, especially Corey Feldman. He said, man, he's like, if you watch the scene later in the film when he's standing in front of the window and he jumps through and he grabs Corey Feldman, he didn't know that was coming. He's like, that look of terror on my face was 100% genuine. He's like, I was terrified of Ted White because he didn't talk to anybody. And so I love that. I love that story, and I just love, and you can see like it you can see the look on his face, and it's they were all terrified of him, and he just did a, I know it's like, what do you call that, um I don't know, like he's in the character. There's a word, I'm blanking on the word. um yeah, anyway, he committed to playing Jason, so he was like Jason the whole time. It was fantastic. So the only knock, again, this is probably why I switched them, was that, and it happens a lot in these films, but like early on, you don't see much of him. You just see his hands, and then a little later you would see like the outline of his body. Then you might see outline of his head, and as the film progressed, it was a good build up, and then you eventually get to see his whole, like all of Jason, and then he did his thing. Um, I just wish earlier on in the film we got to see more of him, because he was such a menacing Jason. So yeah, I guess that's a good and a bad thing. I like the build up, but I wish I liked him so much I just wanted him the whole movie. Um, yeah, and the final scene, the final fight scene, is fantastic. It's very violent. The final girl fights back really hard, and he fights back really hard. Um, yeah, it's really good. Yeah, Ted White just had a great look. And in many ways, he's like the Jason prototype, like we all think of, I think. The later versions and the earlier versions, this is like right in the middle, and I feel like this is like the most iconic Jason. Like when I think of Jason, I mostly think of Ted White's Jason. It just has a great look. So yeah, so coming in at number two, um, Ted White. All right. All right, let's get on to it. Number one. All right, so coming in at number one, of course, we have Richard Brooker from Friday the 13th, Part 3. Um, Now, I love Richard Brooker. I think he was fantastic. Now, obviously, he's one of the most important, because this is obviously where Jason gets his mask. And that's cool. That's like, it's very iconic. It's very important to the franchise. But it's not just that. It's just, I think this is the best look of all the Jasons. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just like, I think it's his shoulders. If that makes, I don't know what it, the look of his shoulders, they're really like he's wearing football shoulder pads or something. And just the shoulders, the posture, it's almost like a hunchback, the way he walks, he the clothing he wears, like, he just got the mask, everything is just, it's just perfect. I just love the look of this Jason, the feel of this Jason. um and that's why he's number one, plain and simple. I just like how he looks and how he feels, how he moves. At times he's very slow, like when he's walking down the dock before he shoots the girl with the arrow through the eye. He's just so slow and meticulous, and he kind of tilts the head, and it's very, yeah, he can be very just like kind of like he's confused, like, and then he just, does his thing. Um, but then there's times when he's super fast and aggressive. Like he has, he had it both. He could go really slow and lumbering, but then he could turn on the aggression. And yeah, he was really aggressive, really physical, and he looks strong. He looks mean and menacing. He just man, he just really enjoyed this Jason. Um, Now, yeah, he's just, I don't know. And I had to say, like, when I mentioned Ted White, the final fight at the end with the final girl, was fantastic. I think this is the best final fight. He, him and I think the character's name was Chris. They go at it, man. She fights back really hard. She's not the greatest final girl for acting and whatnot, but that final fight was fantastic. And they go at each other. It's long. He's chasing. He's violent. He's taking stabs to the knee, and he's grabbing his knee. There's a human element because he's still a human at this time. Um, and he's animalistic. He just seems real, kind of a realistic as like a serial killer, as a deranged maniac. It just comes off really like natural, like believable. He's still human, but he's got the craziness. It's just, I don't know. It's just, like I said, total package. Just a fantastic look. Um, yeah, man. Richard Brooker is exactly what I want in my Jason, and that's plain and simple. That's why he's number one. So yeah, so that's it, guys. That's the entire list. So yeah. So I just want to say thanks everyone again for subscribing. Giving me a thumbs up, leaving the comments, all that stuff. It's really appreciated. Yeah, I'd be interested what you guys leave some comments. I like what not only what you think of my ratings. You can tell me if you think obviously Kane Hodder should be way higher. Let me know. I'm curious. And let me know your rankings. I'd love to see what everybody else's rankings are. Even just you don't have to do all nine of them. You just your top five, top three, whatever. I'm just curious to know. So leave some comments. Let me know. So yeah, that's about it. If you guys like this, I'll put a link up here. You can check out my my complete rankings to Friday the 13th films, and I'll put the link to the playlist for all of my Friday the 13th ranking the kills series that I'm started going through. All right, so that's it, guys. So yeah, until next time. All right, see ya.